Hello, everybody. How is everybody? Jacqueline, how are you?
I'm Joelle. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. So, first, I just want to say thanks for everybody's happy birthday wishes. Yesterday, June 10th, was my birthday. And it was a fabulous day. And I have an amazing team and amazing friends and family. So, feel very blessed for all of that. So, I just had
And
to
you're
say that.
32 again.
32
What
again.
a year.
All right, awesome. So let's get right in. It's let's talk real estate. I'm Jacqueline. No, you're Jacqueline.
And
I'm
I'm
Stacy.
Stacy.
And we're here every Thursday talking about the market, interviewing people with great stories about real estate, pivoting their businesses. Today we are going to do a deep dive into what is happening in our real estate market here in Bergen County. So Jacqueline, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and share your screen. And we're going to start with an overall look at Bergen County. Jacqueline, how do you
You
do that?
actually just shared your screen.
Oh, I did. Hold on. Stop sharing my screen. Sorry. Okay.
You really
Sorry.
are me. Amen.
So as Jacqueline pulls that up, what we're going to show you is essentially a snapshot of the statistics report that shows a snapshot of March 11th through June 11th, 2019,
Mhm.
compared to March 11th, June 11th, 2020. And this is all of Bergen County, all of Bergen County. So it's pretty interesting to look at that. And I'm back on gallery view, so we're okay.
Can
So
you,
we're going to
we
look at
both?
a snapshot. Here we go. So we're looking at a snapshot. So Jacqueline, on the left side here where my cursor is and you all can see it, we have Bergen County, and this is the number of solds. So let's just start with where we are in this snapshot. So there are in Bergen County in 2019, there was 1,726 units sold. And then the same time for the same snapshot of time, 1,334. So all this means, this data here between sold, co-broke, and list sold is essentially, it's the same thing. It just means co-broke is when you have two agents in the same brokerage, and list sold essentially means that you just have one brokerage on both sides of a deal. That's all that means. The total number here is what we're sort of interested in, this total number. So we have a 1,726 total number in 2019 between March, but basically when COVID started to today. That's kind of what we're looking at. And now on this side, you could see the same 1334. Here's what is incredibly interesting right off the bat, okay, is that you're looking at list sales dollars. So this is how much we've sold through, 1,000,023 compared to it's 859,000. So actually, Jacqueline, can you move it to the left a little so I could see all of the,
2020?
yeah, I can't see all of 2020.
And I'm trying to follow along as fast as I can with my cursor because we can't see your cursor.
Oh, perfect. So what I really want to do is get both of these on the same screen so we could see both. And right now one is hiding the other. So
Okay.
I would make one a little
I can
smaller
hear
and
you.
that would be easier. There you go.
1 second here. I know.
There you
I'm
go. Perfect, perfect, perfect.
okay.
Okay, so for those of you like me who have glasses and you want to press zoom in on the screen so you can see what we're looking at here. So what we're looking at is, again, a snapshot pre-COVID, right when COVID started to right now in Bergen County. And what we're looking at is basically that we've got 2,678 units were under contract. So there's less under contracts, there's less sold. Okay, that makes sense because the market really stopped for a good chunk of time and we're catching up. So that would make sense, right? So snapshot this year to last year in Bergen County, we're looking at less under contracts and less sold. That makes total sense, right? Now let's keep going. So now let's look at current active listings. So that there's 2,000 units on the market, that makes sense. All right, now let's look at months of inventory. So months of inventory last year was right about 3.9 or 4 months of supply for this time of year last year. And then now we're looking at months of inventory being 3.5 months. So you could see the trend is already from a bigger picture going down, that we're sitting with less inventory than we were. When we dive into specific towns, you'll really get a better picture of what that means, what that looks like, and just how challenging our market is, depending on the town, for buyers right now. Because what we're going to show you is that the market picked up dramatically, and we do not have the inventory to meet the demand. We do not have the inventory to meet the demand. So let's take another look at that again. Again, 2019 to 2020, looking at March to June. So right when COVID happened to where we are right now, this year to last year. And what we're seeing overall is we have less inventory, we have less under contracts because we have less inventory, and we have less solds right now. What I'm telling you is going to happen is that our transaction times are typically 60 to 90 days, between 60 to 90 days. So what you're going to see in the next few weeks is those under contracts and those solds are going to go like that. They're going to go straight up. Jacqueline, you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to see a spike, a very big spike in under contracts and solds, because we're moving very fast through whatever product we have, and you are in a situation where we just don't have enough supply to meet the demand.
Mm-hmm.
So Jacqueline, do you agree with what I'm saying?
I absolutely agree. And speaking of moving very fast, some positive numbers over here. If you look where my cursor is, average days on the market in 2019 was 65. And if you come over to this time right now in 2020, it's 59 days on the market. So this is saying things are sitting on the market for less time. Another really interesting number is the sale price to last list price was 96% in 2019. It's now 97%. So things are selling closer to their last list price, which is great. Another great number here is this median sold price. As a whole in 2019 was $499 as an entire county. It jumped to $530.
That to me is like the biggest. I mean, the days on the market is a big one. Like the percentage sold right now is just a couple of like little tiny notches down,
Mm-hmm.
but or up. But the median price point jump is very interesting. And the average days on the market is also incredibly interesting, because there's a story there, and there's the inside of the numbers, there's a lot of guidance that you should be taking away from that. Whether you're a seller or a buyer or an agent, it doesn't matter. You know, the numbers tell such an interesting story. And when you have less days on the market, things selling closer to ask price, less inventory, and we have a tremendous amount of demand, it really is a market that you need to manage differently. Seller or buyer or agent. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let's jump into the graph, just to give people sort of like, so now that was a snapshot of Bergen County. I'm going to pull up a graph, and Jacqueline, you could make that your whole screen. That would be great.
Let me just.
And so what we're going to show you right now is something we talk to our clients about, and it's really about real estate cycles, and it's showing sort of what our real estate cycle has been. It's a little blurry. Maybe make it a little smaller. Sorry. And while she pulls this up, I'm gonna sort of explain what I'm talking about. And you don't even have to really see this graph, but I'm going to explain it. That the cycles we talk about in real estate typically are somewhere between 8 to 10 years. We had our high point in the last 20 years, I guess. Our high point was that 2005, 2006, right? We know the market was super, super, super high. When the market crashed in '08, we began to see our, sort of cycle down in the cycle, we were cycling down, right? We hit a lower point and we started to travel back up. It did take us somewhere around, from 2006 was our high. We crashed, we crashed 2008. And then really from 2008, it took us somewhere between 8-9 years to get back up to what our new height was, which was 2016, 2017, depending, right? So if you bought a house between 2008 and 2015, or 2014 even, I would say, you hopefully bought in before we got back at that higher level point. So if you didn't, no problem. Most people are staying in their houses 8 to 10 years, actually. That's a longer number than it typically was. So Jacqueline, it's even fine. The graph's a bit blurry, but it doesn't matter. What we're saying is that 6 was the high. We started to come down in a cycle. We start to travel back up. And this is a national cycle, not just us, not just Bergen County. And about 16, 17, we hit our high of the market. Here we go, 16, 17. And if you're like a Zillow follower and you have fun with that, Zillow even has a chart that you can, you can put yourself on the chart, and then you go through the years, and you could see the difference in what it predicted your house was worth and what it is predicting your house will be worth depending on the year. So most likely, if you're doing that as a homeowner or even as a buyer for a particular house, you'll see somewhere between, Jacqueline, you think it's 15, 16, 16, 17, somewhere in that range, 16, 17 probably, we had a high.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think our year in 2018 was probably huge.
It was.
It was a huge year. So after 16, 17, we started to go into our sort of down cycle. Mm-hmm. And then something else dramatic happened to our real estate market, which was, Jacqueline,
COVID-19.
COVID-19 happened, but before COVID-19 happened in 16, 17, the SALT taxes happened.
Oh, right? We're talking 16, 17.
Yeah, sorry. I set her up. So,
you always set me up, guys. She always sets me up. Okay.
So what happened is
dramatic SALT taxes.
Yeah. And so, I mean, Jacqueline, when the SALT taxes, when all that happened, the state and local tax, I thought it was just going to be like the luxury market was going to step back, but that's not what happened.
It trickled down throughout all price points we saw.
Yeah. Tell me about one experience even, with having a $600,000-$700,000 house, and how the SALT taxes were, the tax numbers became so important to them.
Right. Well, now you have, we have first-time home buyers and we have move-up home buyers. And when those people and families in the homes of 700, 800, 600,000 range want to move up, and now we have this tax situation, they're staying put. They can't afford to move out. So those homes were no longer coming on the market. And so that just trickled down, and people really, there was a halt.
There was a halt. And that is exactly what happened. So the effect of SALT taxes and the effect of people not being able to move up was really the beginning of our inventory shortage. And the other word that Jacqueline just used, and this is like a brilliant word, was affordability. So we did hit a ceiling simply based on affordability. And that was huge for us, because we had houses that were not yet priced tax-wise. They didn't have their taxes assessed yet for maybe a new construction. And it could have been the difference of $1,000 for some buyers, and they were not okay because they were already at the very top of their budget, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So as we move forward, we got hit with the SALT taxes, and the luxury market got hit super super, super hard. We lost a tremendous amount of international buyers also. And the millennial buyer, became the #1 mortgage application. You know, the demographics of our buyers also shifted. And I know I'm throwing a whole lot of information out there, but it is, I love digging deep. Jacqueline and we have fun glass of tequila wine where we talk about it. But
we're a little nerdy. We can go all night with these.
Yeah. But here's the story, right? We had hit with SALT taxes. We climbed up. We kept climbing up from our crash of 08. Prices are rising. We get hit with SALT taxes. The millennial buyer, in demographically speaking, is our #1 mortgage mortgage taker out or whatever. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, the houses of our empty nesters are not worth what they thought they were worth. #1, equity technically went, kind of went down, mm-hmm. because of the demographics, all the people wanting new, and because the affordability, right, was so hard that the more opening price point houses consistently didn't have enough inventory, mm-hmm. and the empty nesters, or I'm not even allowed to say empty nesters anymore, free birds, whatever, those people started competing with the first-time home buyers in the market, and they were outbid or didn't want to pay up. And after a while, it became, well, why am I moving? I'm gonna sell my house and I'm gonna buy something smaller for the same number, mm-hmm. right?
We had many clients like that in the last couple of years. It was interesting.
Very interesting. So, motivation for the sellers to move out was really hard. And so basically we had an inventory, we kind of all went into an inventory shortage. Mm-hmm. So now we're in 2019. And I would say 2019, last year, we only started to pick back up and start to recover again from the third quarter of 2019. When we went, right before COVID started, I would say, like even in January, February, we were again in what we would call like a pretty tight market inventory-wise, Jacqueline, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, we were in a pretty tight market inventory-wise. And the buyers, as Jacqueline said, had started to jump in the third to fourth quarter of last year, right?
Right.
Like our summer last year was like what our spring should have been, and it wasn't.
Yes, it was. I remember it very well. Yeah. Spring started, it's funny because spring market started late last year, and the same thing's happening now.
Right. So now if we would have, so now here's the message, okay? We should have been in a recovery mode, and Bergen County should have been in a recovery mode from 2019, probably until 2023, okay? The message is we skipped it. We really basically skipped it. So I'm gonna take this graph down. Jacqueline's gonna do that for me.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Stop sharing your screen, and you could put up another, we could spotlight Tenafly if you want right now, but we basically skipped the recovery mode. So what does that mean? It means that, again, we were in a cycle, and as of 2000 and I would say 19, we were at maybe just coming out of that last cycle, right? So 16, 17, 18, 19, and we're just coming out of it. And by 2022, 2023, we should have been back up, right? Back up to wherever that, that higher point in the market is. And what's gone on because of COVID is essentially the entire recovery period was accelerated. That is the message. The entire recovery period for our market cycle, which would have normally taken us another 3, maybe 4 years to get back to our high, we skipped it. And we literally just jumped back up to that point. So Jacqueline's gonna pull up one of our,
Stace, there's many reasons why, but
sorry.
We seem to see a lot of things happen first in Tenafly. So to show you really how sped up this process has been due to COVID, we're going to pull up the same market report that we pulled up for Bergen County, 2019, March 11th to June, 2020, March 11th to June, to show you just how drastic.
Yeah, just how drastic it is. So do you want to pull this one up, or do you want to show the one that we do? Or is this one good? Does this one show the drastic nature of what's happening in our market right now?
It does, but we can show both. Hang on. Let's see if I'm lucky enough to have it. Wow, look how ironic that was. I just happened to have a little cutout.
Oh yeah, that's actually excellent.
Oh
So this is super helpful. So
like I was prepared.
So we're showing Tenafly, not because we only do Tenafly. SEG, we have 2 offices. SEG has offices in Woodcliff Lake and Pascack Valley. It's the KW Valley Realty office. They do Saddle River, Ridgewood, Woodcliff Lake, Montvale. And then we really cover, and of course, all of Eastern Bergen County and Northern Bergen County. We tend to see things start a little closer to the city and then push out from there, which is, I think, what Jacqueline was saying before. So again, I'm repeating it. The message is simply that we have accelerated demand. There is more demand than there is supply, more demand than there is supply. And that instead of a 3 to 4 year recovery to get back to the high point of our real estate cycle as a county, Bergen County, we skipped the climb and we just went right to the top, which is fun. When there's so much crap going on everywhere else in this world, it's fun. It's nice to be on the selling side of that, for sure. So here's a trailing 12 months that Jacqueline just put up. So thank you so much, Jacqueline. So this is trailing 12 months. So this is May 31st, June, through June 1st, 2018. And then again, May 31st through June 1st.
Do I have the right one up?
May 31st.
Oh yeah, right here, 2020, 2019. Okay.
Yeah. So it's a 12-month trail. So it starts in 18, ends in 19, and then starts in 19 and ends in 20. It's a 12-month trail, right? So it's a this year to last year 12-month trail. And here is what we're looking at. 360 to 363 of new listings taken. So that's kind of fine. But here's where it gets interesting. Current active listings. So obviously, if we have 34% less active listings, that means that they're either under contract or they're sold. So we have 34% less market actives, there's 34% less inventory. If you are a buyer, listen to the message we're telling you. If you're an agent coaching a buyer, listen to the message we're telling you. There's 34% less inventory in this market. We have sold through 32% more inventory in this market.
These are yummy numbers.
But they're frustrating for buyers. So I'm just telling you, Jacqueline
not if you're made the strongest buyer.
That's true. I mean, Jacqueline and I, we're on the way our team works is we have listing people, we have buyers agents, we have listing agents. So we're on the listing side. So we're constantly working with sellers. So this is a very, it's a much more happy conversation than it was a year ago, right?
Absolutely.
A year ago, right? So that's important. Now, buyers, the message for the buyers is this: know what you're dealing with. Don't be your own worst enemy is what I'm saying. Like, know how to make yourself the strongest buyer. Know what to do. Work with somebody who knows the market, who knows what they're doing, who knows how to make you the best buyer. There are lots of tips and tricks on how to become the best buyer. And hopefully we're going to do a session about that next week. Being the best buyer, making sure that that seller feels comfortable with you, and understanding that whatever comps you were looking at 3 months ago is not the same market you're in today.
Right.
I'm going to say it again, right? Like whatever numbers as a buyer you were looking at 3 months ago, if you're looking at a house that sold 3 months ago, that means that that house actually traded 3 months before it. So now you're really looking at a sold house is really a house that got an accepted bid most likely 6 months before that.
Right.
It is not the same market.
Not even close. The market we've dealt with and are dealing with in the last 3 months is completely different than the market 4 months ago, 5 months ago, 6 months ago. So those comps are different. We're also seeing if your home is priced right now, there's many more buyers coming out to look at the same homes, like we've been talking about, less inventory. So you're up against competition. So when Stacy was talking about make yourself the strongest buyer, and from looking at it from a listing standpoint, when you're looking at 5 bids in hand, you want your bid to stand out. So you need to work with someone that's.
Yeah, and I think, Jacqueline, next week, and you guys will tune back in next week, we're going to talk about how to be the strongest buyer. And we're going to talk about it from the perspective of a listing team. That's a really cool thing, right?
Yeah.
So it's not a right or wrong. It's just as a listing agent, and we've sold 300 something houses, our team is outpacing the MLS by about 40% right now in sales volume. And I'm boasting because we are, it's a cool thing to say that we're doing as much as we're doing. So we want to share with you the tips and tricks that we can help so that you can actually do this correctly. So that's important. Jacqueline, Tenafly is sitting with 192 under contracts, and this is just through June 1st.
Right, compared to 149. And I think just our team, Stacy, we could speak to this. We are pumping out homes and getting them under contract faster than I could remember.
Yeah.
So we're seeing a huge 28% increase in under contract homes, less inventory, and more sold. So again, for a seller, these are all, you should be smiling right now looking at these numbers for sure.
Yeah, and let me say that I spoke to a seller today locally, and the message I said to her, I think this is interesting, is again, we skipped the recovery. So if you're a homeowner and you were thinking about maybe selling your house in 2 years or 3 years, or maybe you wanted to sell your house last year or the year before, and you were feeling pretty, uncomfortable where the market was, it's changed. The market has changed. We believe strongly in working with the market we're in. And I guess the thing is, we have no idea what this is going to look like 6 months from now. We just have no idea, because this was the external circumstances that led to this market acceleration. We don't know. We just don't know what's going to happen. So, as a seller right now, you're still in a low inventory situation. So it's a fabulous time to be considering going on the market. And I just think that knowing we've got buyers that want your houses, that's really important. Jacqueline, can you pull up another town? For instance, I don't know if we'll pull up Ridgewood, but even like in Ridgewood, New Jersey, we have buyers shopping with our agents, and there's homes that are getting outbid $75,000 to $100,000 over ask. And Woodcliff Lake, let's see what's going on. Well, I just went on a listing appointment in Maywood, New Jersey, which is such a cute town. It's like a little town right behind Bergen Town Center, and they have 1.5 months of supply in that town. There's nothing.
Wild.
There's nothing. What are you looking at now?
Why? This is Woodcliff Lake. I just happen to have where our other KW office is. And Stacy, we were talking about this before, kind of seeing with the lack of inventory as a county, towns that are closer to the city where we're seeing it happen faster. We believe there's going to be a trickling effect to these other great surrounding towns in Bergen County.
I think that's accurate. I feel like, you know, when people
Oh.
start looking at their search, at least the, you know, with our buyers agents, like you said, you know, you might start in one area and then you'll realize that Bergen County is super tight. You know, there's a lot of great towns, like one after the other, boom, boom, boom. And they all offer different things, but for the most part, they all have amazing school systems, and they have options for commutes, and they have great communities and great towns. So it is where we feel like people are pushing out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's take a look at this. So in 2019, there were, let's see, what's the big number here? Let's look at their median.
I was going to say, I think most here, the average days on the market, the sale, the list price, these numbers have jumped drastically.
Holy crap. Yeah, I was about to curse. Yeah, Jacqueline, that's crazy. So in Woodcliff Lake, let's look at that top line. That top line is really amazing. So right there in Woodcliff Lake, we're looking at the median sold price last year. It was 719,000. And now jump over to 2020. The median sold price is 600. So this is a little less.
Right.
This is
it's a little less. It's interesting though, because now we're seeing, and this is more than Tenafly, things are selling closer to the list price and in half the amount of time.
That is really interesting. You're right. So we're looking at the median price point went down a little bit in Woodcliff Lake. With that said, we're looking at, I mean, the shift in days on the market is it's crazy. It's 81 days last year to 34 days on the market this year.
It's crazy.
And then you're also looking at a big difference of list to sell, right? It's selling a lot closer to its list price, which is, and
that's actually a pretty big jump.
That's a much bigger jump than Tenafly also.
Right.
So it's not as big of a town. It only has 20 active homes on its market. Like, so Woodcliff is not a huge town. So what'll happen is, you know, your median price point could get affected very quickly, because it's not such a big town. So it'll be interesting to see if that number goes up, and if it was really just a circumstance of the inventory that was on the market also. And that's pretty cool. So I think that we looked at Woodcliff, we looked at Tenafly, all these towns. As a county, we're going to go back. As a county, Bergen County is sitting with, Jacqueline, did you run Bergen County just a total 12 month?
No, but I could quickly do that.
Yeah, so we're going to just take a quick peek. So the message here, guys, is we've accelerated our real estate cycle from the lower point of our real estate cycle, which was probably 2018, 19. And we sort of escalated our recovery to another high, which is happening right now. Obviously, external factors being COVID. Who's buying homes? I'm gonna spend just 2 minutes on this, and then we're gonna wrap up. And next week we will be back talking about how to be the very best buyer in a multiple bid situation. That's next week, next Thursday. Who's buying homes? Yes, there's an acceleration of people coming from New York City, Hoboken, Edgewater, Fort Lee, Cliffside Park, all these areas, Brooklyn, all these areas that were congested are feeling congested. Yes, that's happening. We have a tremendous amount of rental business happening as well. And people coming from the city that never in a million years thought they would be living in the burbs. And people coming out from the city that were about to have a wedding, couldn't have the wedding, and instead decided to buy their first home. That's happening too. In addition to that, our residents, whatever town they're in Saddle River, Woodcliff, it doesn't really matter. We have all been living in our houses probably in a way that we have never lived in our houses before. And that's causing a lot of move up interest. It's typical that our towns retain a lot of the residents. What do I mean by that? It's typical that a lot of our towns will sell homes to people that already live here, you know, or if you're in Glen Rock, a lot of Ridgewood people. I mean, it's everything is pretty close. Tenafly's alone typically will have about 38 to 40% of its homes sold are sold to actual existing Tenafly residents. So it's pretty interesting. And now what we're seeing is people having a need for more house. They want to a staycation. They want to resort style live in their house. They want to feel like, you know, they can entertain in their house. They don't know when they're going to go on vacation. They don't know if there's going to be a second wave. And so we're also seeing college kids that are now living in their houses because their dorms were closed, or they don't have a job, for instance. Older in-laws and parents have come back to live in houses. So, you know, it is true. It's like the house is the retreat, and it's become our safe haven. So the message is clear. Oh my God, my dogs are going to start to bark again. No, don't. No. Coco, Coco, shh, shush, girl. Working from home. How are you? Okay, Jacqueline, go ahead.
Okay, so I was just quickly, before we started, Stacy was mentioning, just looking at a broader picture, the whole 12 months of Bergen County, right? Is that what you were?
Yeah, and I guess we've got to sign off because it's 1:34.
Shocker, we went over. We're running to show houses, so we're
running. But yeah, so Jacqueline, thank you for running this. So you want to just tell us what you spot as the highlights here?
So highlights that we look at, and if we've met with you before for listing appointments, this is something we dig into all the time. This is Bergen County as a whole, the last 12 months. So this is 6/11/2019 until today. Very alarming in a good, not in a good way. Months of inventory.
Yeah, it's challenging. Yeah.
I should say it's challenging. Months of inventory, 3.2. That is like nothing.
So let's just really make sure everybody understands. So so 6 months of inventory would be considered a neutral market, neither buyer nor seller. 6 months of inventory in a spring season. Obviously, the Northeast relies on the spring season as the height of the selling market. It is not enough product. So 6 months of inventory in the height of a season when people should be moving, schools, is not enough product. The entire county of Bergen in June, height of the season, has less than 3.3, has 3.2 months, which basically means this: if not one other house came to market, we would have absolutely zero houses to sell after 3.2 months. That's what that means. That's what supply and demand means. Crazy. So, Jacqueline, that's a hard number. Yeah. It's a very alarming number. And what it means is, and I'm also telling you, what it means is we got to be super careful about people and what's going to happen with home prices and affordability and bubbles and all that stuff. I mean, okay. You know, it's very interesting. Now is the time. That's all I can say. If you want to sell your house, call us. All right. So 3.2 months of inventory. Your median sold price is 510. And I think that, again, the supply and demand is going to drive this. It's going to drive it. Interest rates are still super, super low. So anyway, we're going to wrap up, Jacqueline.
We got to wrap up. We're going to be late.
So yeah, so before we tune out, we're going to ask you to tune in next Thursday. We're going to be talking about bidding wars, how to be the best buyer, and also as a seller, what to look for. Sometimes it's not the number you get. And we're going to talk about that. So thanks so much for watching. If you don't already, please follow us on Facebook and on Instagram, Jacqueline, right?
Yes. Stacy Esser Group. Follow us, Facebook, Instagram. We have a lot of good tips and tricks. Always new inventory, houses that aren't on the market yet. We're happy to share with you. So join us next week, 12:30, for another exciting episode of SEGtv.
Yep, and here we go.
It's not loud enough for me. Can't jam. Bam!